What's up, guys? Welcome back to another grand old episode of the Gruesome Garage. Right now, we got ourselves a new little project. It's not going to be a regular, but we don't have a lot going on right now, so we thought we'd show you guys a little bit about working on TJs. My boss recently purchased his Jeep, caught the Jeep bug like I did, and bought himself a lift, a couple other things, and this weekend we're going to show you what we're working on. Obviously, if you guys live in what we call the Rust Belt, we obviously have to deal with all this garbage, like snapping bolts, and just the typical crust on a 10-year-old or 15-year-old Jeep.
A little crusty, not too bad.
Not the worst, you know, typical Jeep things. We're used to it. But one of the biggest pains, at least personally for me, is pulling the shocks out. Now, the top of these shocks have threads, and then they also have a little eye on the top that is usually a hex shape for a socket. So you just put the little socket on, and then you put a wrench on, and you just nut the stem right off. You take the nut right off the stem. Well, with Jeep ones, they're always rusty on the top, and that little top socket is always shot. So I tried to put a vice grips on it. It always fails. You snap the little nipple off. So this is your next best option. If you decide that you need new shocks, like these are pretty shot, you take a vice grip on the shock body itself, and this one needed a couple because the bolt, as you can see, snapped off. But you take a couple of the vice grips, you clamp them on, and you send that bolt right off. As you see, this is a painstaking process. We live in the world of rust, but we got the coils out, we cut the shocks out, and surprisingly, it blew my mind that the sway bar end links unbolted. I thought they were both gonna snap. Everyone I've ever seen snaps.
They must have been replaced.
Yeah, must have been. One was a different size than the other, the nut, so I'm assuming that they were replaced. But on to the next part. We're gonna pull the lower control arms out, and we're gonna drop the track bar and start throwing new stuff in. Well, guys, we did a lot of drinking last night, and we just got carried away, so we didn't really film much. But we basically finished the front. We just got to center the track bar, and now we're moving on to the back. We basically stripped everything out of the back that we need to, and we're cleaning it up to get it painted. Well, guys, installing the rear end was an absolute breeze. A lot surprising, actually. All we had to do was follow the instructions. I know, mind-blowing, and everything went smoothly. The only problems we really had were the rear shocks. If you look up here, you can see that the shocks have snapped, the bolts connected to it. So right now, I have my brother running to the hardware store. He's grabbing me more drill bits, so you can see I drilled and tapped one. I got another one to go, but the drill bit's shot, and we'll do the other side. And this thing will basically be done, except for the T-case drop. All nice and ready to put some wheels back on. Got the sway bar ends in, coils, shocks, control arms, track bar bracket, and guys, sadly, our idea for the rear end did not work. We were gonna drill and tap it, but instead we kept on breaking taps and drill bits, so we decided to make a bracket and weld the bracket onto the frame and make it a lot easier, eliminate the bar pin. It'll be a lot stronger and a lot easier to service. Well, guys, it's an absolute Christmas miracle. I cannot believe we got this tub off. It's a little worse for wear. Got a couple of spots that are a little questionable, but structurally where the tub gets held in, or as I like to call it, the sled, it is pretty good. Like I said, a couple rough spots, good structure, good structure, good structure. So cleaning up with some purple power right now, and then it's gonna be off to paint and slap it back on with the T-gauge drop. Most of you guys know the struggles that we have with these frames. They like to rot away where they get sandwiched in, but this frame really doesn't look that bad. It's got a couple of crust spots, but other than that, she's ready to get put back together. Another cool little thing that this kit comes with is this little plate. It's a transfer case linkage drop. So instead of the transfer case linkage riding up here where it does, it drops it down to compensate for the T-case drop. Now, I've never used this before, never seen it before, so I'm curious to see how it works. Kind of excited. Maybe it'll actually eliminate some of that binding that everyone gets with the T-case drop. It's this nifty little plate. So the T-case linkage originally bolted right here, and it went through, and this plate extends it down. And now, if you can see, there's barely any binding. The shaft goes straight across instead of being bound pivoting up like on a regular T-case drop. Hopefully this works out pretty well. Hopefully we don't have to adjust it. We'll find out.
As you guys can see here, the muffler is pretty rotted out, so we're going to change that. And we're going to attempt to unbolt this flange and hopefully just weld the new, or weld this old flange, if you can see it. Weld it on the new muffler, just so it's easier to put together. Alright guys, as you can see, we got our flange cut off. So all you got to do is bolt that guy back up and piece this bad boy together. So let's do it.
We used the stock flange, welded to that, welded the extension because the Flowmaster is shorter than the original muffler. And then we just welded it straight onto the stock back piece, the tailpipe, and fit just fine. Let's see how she sounds. Yep.
Alright guys, we got the exhaust done. We got the rear lift completely done.
Front lift's basically done. We just have to adjust the track bar, make sure that's center. We'll show you our little secret to do that in a minute. But whole front end's done. Even the sway bar links, rear sway bar links are done. The only thing we really have to do left is the T-case drop. Let's do it.
Jeff just tightened up the track bar.
I forgot to show you guys the secret, but there's a secret to adjusting the track bar. Once it's all said and done, what you're gonna do is you're gonna leave the track bar for last. You're gonna bolt in the bottom on the axle side, and you're gonna drive forwards and backwards 3, 4, 5 times. Don't touch the steering wheel. It should self-center, and that's where you adjust the track bar to. We do it for almost all the Jeeps that we've ever lifted, and every time we take it to alignment place, they say that we're pretty dead on, so they really don't adjust it. So there's your little tip and trick.
Now we're getting ready. We're going to throw these tires off of the plow Jeep over there. They're 33 12.5s. We're going to throw them on here, see how they fit, and see if we can get 35s to fit in here. So we got the 33s on, as you can see. This is the pile of scrap we're left over with. We did the front coils, front track bar, extended the rear track bar, all the lowers, front and rear, all new shocks.
While we were under there, we decided to throw a new muff. Always important to have a nice little rumble out of a 4.0, but we'll go over everything again now that we're in daylight. We got the lower control arms, shocks, coils, longer sway bar links, longer track bar. The kit told me to drill the hole over like 7/8 of an inch. I didn't feel comfortable doing that, so we just ordered a new track bar for this thing. And I was comfortable with what they did in the back though. They gave us this relocation box for the track bar, which seems beefy enough. So this thing's all wrapped up, ready to go. We just threw the 33s from our plow Jeep on to see how it looked. And I think we're gonna be able to stuff some 35s under here. But
tune in next week, boys and girls. Maybe we'll work on the 4.0. Maybe we'll get a new project to blow up next week.